This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. It's been a while. Well, it's been a while since I've seen you in person. I believe Manchester was the last.
Last time was the Borough of Manchester, wasn't it, Coog? How are you, mate?
Very well. We've just been having a little chat about life there and exchanging father stories. Obviously, I can contribute to that now.
We are both newly crowned fathers. Me for not the first time, but you for the first time. How the first night's been, Coog? How have they been? You're looking rather well for that. I mean, hope you're helping out.
I help out.
Same, Coog.
25%. Is that good?
I'd say that's good, yeah. It beats my 22%, so you're all right there.
If my missus is watching this, she'd probably go, "Where the fuck's that 25%?"
It's all relevant. It all depends on how you see the percentage.
Absolutely. Kalle, right, so yeah, a few things to obviously discuss in this interview, but I do want to kind of go back to quite now horrendous Sunday night for the country and for English football. I labelled it as, out there to you, as an anti-climax. I think you said that's a too soft of a word or term, shall we say, to explain such a great 4-week period there for England where the whole country was on a high and we didn't really see ourselves losing, some of us, I suppose. But then if you know football, you know what was in front of us with the formidable Italians, and it just wasn't to be for England. No,
I'm not going to do the whole football punditry thing here because I don't think I'm really positioned to do that, and it would be a very long interview. And I'd probably be banned off Instagram, Facebook and everything else after it. But I don't know, I've got a funny story with England because obviously I've got a German old man, my mum's British, and we, I picked at a very young age the England team, and I followed England home and away for years as a teenager. I went to Euro 2020 away, went to Euro 2004, 96 obviously here. And it's all those ups and downs over the years, and I was lucky enough to be at Wembley on the Wednesday night, which should have been the final. Would have been nice if that was the final, and was there on Sunday, and it was, I just think we did throw it away. I mean, it's all good now saying how great a tournament it was and everything, but for someone, if you've followed England for that long and seen the shit we've been through over the years in terms of shite teams and different managers and what have you. Don't forget the last Euros we lost to Iceland, so we've got to see it as a positive. I do think we let the Italians off the hook Sunday night. You don't go after 2 minutes a goal up and think you're going to play it out 88 minutes. I thought we could have finished them off. I think we had the artillery to do it. Didn't do it, but that's my 2 cents worth as the fan down the pub, But gutted, but I do think we'll win the World Cup next year. I'm being serious. I do say it every time there's a big tournament on. I always say this is our year, but it's unfortunately 55 years of hurt and counting. 44 years for me. It's not quite as bad as for others. I look on the positive.
This is an interview centred around boxing, but I do want to address kind of the talking point in the aftermath of England's loss to Italy, the vile racist abuse that the 3 missed penalty takers in Saka, Rashford and Sancho suffered. It's been well addressed by a lot of the England team, including obviously Harry Kane and
Tottenham boy.
Yeah,
one of our own.
Yeah, still one of your own. But it just, it's a massive problem as such, and I suppose over the last year and a half, especially the topic of racism has not just touched football, but it's gone worldwide. But these 3 young men who have been representing their country to suffer what they did in the game, and then to come online to see the sort of things that we were all seeing online is just, it's fucking horrendous.
I've got to admit, I didn't pick up on a story till about 3 o'clock on Monday, because I, on purpose, stayed off anything online because I couldn't see all the shit that was going to be put out there. at the time, to be honest, it didn't occur to me that the 3 players were black players. I mean, who actually thinks like that? It's not, for me, they're not racist, they're freaks. Yeah? It's a freak show, so it's not racist. It's actually, beyond that, it's freak. Yeah? I mean, it's like, did you jump up and down when Sterling scored those people? You know, it's a valid point. Did anyone in this, I don't know, did normal people actually put that together and think, oh, well, the white fella scored and the blacks didn't? I mean, what the? No, but seriously, is that, I mean, it's like, you couldn't make it up. Unfortunately, in a day and age of social media, that spreads. In old time, no one would have been some dipstick down the pub who's had one too many is an idiot, you know, just ignore him. But you can't, because it's on social media, it spreads, shit spreads, yeah? I think it's, you know, what can you just say the words everyone's been saying, it's disgusting, it's whatever, but for me it's freakish, it's just, it's odd, you know, and it, you know, why would you even think like that, you know, I don't know, I mean, you know, it's just, I don't know, I was raised in North London, and in my class we had, I don't know, we had Jews, blacks, everything that was green, yellow, you name the colour, we had it. Yeah? And it functioned. And for some reason, I think there is elements of society via social media that have that platform. I saw a lot of putting out there, well, what about making the accounts, you know, all validated and whatever. What I would say to that, I'd say absolutely, there must be a way of doing it. But there is also that argument, there's that sort of, that third eye of the government, you know, they got your details. I'm not really buying into that, because I don't know, are we really that interesting that people, you know, when people say, oh, the track and trace, they're going to listen to my phone, I'm thinking, yeah, well, am I that interesting that people are going to start listening to my phone? I mean, you know, that's quite a statement of some of my mates who say that, you know who I'm talking about. And I don't know, I think you've got to look at getting hold of the people who start it off. It's an avalanche effect, isn't it? It's someone who puts something out off an anonymous account, that gets retweeted, it gets into someone's hands who's got a bigger account, and it snowballs from there. But once again, when we left that, I spent 25 minutes in the ground with my son crying in my arm, and me telling him next year we're going to be world champions, and then the next day I turn it on and that's the shit that's out there, you know, and I explain that to my lad. You know, it's, you know, who worships the players who miss those penalties, by the way. Yeah? Even Saka, who's an Arsenal player, you know, Tottenham, Arsenal, United for once. You know, it's not even, once again, I don't even think the words that have been put out there, I just think it's freakish. I think it's that you get to that idea, it's madness, pure madness.
I feel like we could talk about this all day, but it's not a case of moving on from this, but obviously this wasn't the kind of the reason for this interview today. But I did want to touch on that, both things, obviously the aftermath of England's loss and also England's loss as well, because we're big football fans, and a lot of people that watch IFL TV will be big football fans. But yes, Roland Qatar, it's definitely coming home.
Absolutely. It's coming home next year, 100%. 100%. I mean, look, there's not a single player in that team who's anywhere near retirement. Am I wrong? I don't think there is. And I'm not gonna, once again, I'm not going to go into punditry, but for me, Foden was not in the team enough. Even as a Spurs fan, you look at the final, I know sounds madness, but was Kane the man to play against an Italian defence that we all knew was afraid of pace? I'm not saying, listen, Harry, in a way, has to play. He's a magnet. He takes 3 players off, you know, out of course to create space for others. But, you know, I know Foden wasn't available. Sancho, you know, fantastic player. Anyone who was.
Grealish played more as well.
Grealish should have played more, but you know, let's not do what we always do. You know, let's enjoy the fact that we were. For me, we didn't lose. We drew 1-1, and I don't believe in penalties anyway. So, you know,
how did you not win the Euros though, conceding 2 goals? 2 goals conceded.
Well, it was actually one. One was from a free kick, so 1 from open play. But at the same time, let me be critical for a minute. I mean, you look at the Scotland game. Why didn't we score in that game? Why there was that a bit too negative touch? I saw actually Liverpool Diddy Hammond. I saw something on Twitter where he was being criticised saying certain things, and he said, look, England has the best attacking lineup on planet Earth right now. That's not. that's not an England fan saying it. England has, I read a lot of the German media, I read a lot of Scandinavian media, etc. All of them say that. And they're frightened of that attack. And I just feel that could have been more the emphasis than the defence, but at the same time, listen, it's not the time to be criticising. We got to a final. We've never done that in my lifetime, and I've been to plenty of semi-finals. It was nice to go to a final, box check, but it's only 11 months to go. Come on, and then we'll lift that World Cup.
Final thing I'll say is all the people causing havoc outside Wembley on that night and a few of the other nights, but that night in particular need to have a good look at themselves, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I was there, I think I got up there about 4 o'clock. I wanted to show my sons the atmosphere around an England game, and, parts of it was really cool, and there was, lots of fun singing along going, and a bit of it got out of hand here and there. But the thing was, we were walking up the Wembley steps, and I saw the barriers being thrown over. These people, they weren't trouble, they weren't football firms, they had nothing to do with football. They were just, I don't know, people out who were there to try and get into the ground, and it was shocking. Someone tried to chip in with my son behind me. It wasn't nice on the reflection of it. It was, we've had our finger pointed at us in boxing so often for not having enough policing at events and whatever. I mean, you had stewards on very low hourly wages standing there and having to fight off people who were there to cause havoc, And once again, this isn't a reflection on England's, let's say, past. This wasn't to do with football firms or anything. These were just mugs out there who were, just trying to, I don't know, say that they'd broken down a barrier or something. Well done, Well done for scaring some kids and ruining their day who'd managed to get tickets for it. At the end, I think it was very poorly handled by I guess UEFA, who would have been the promoters of the event. I think the whole thing was just not organised. They had a barrier up that resembled something you see at an airport queue, yeah. And to think that on a day where everyone's been probably drinking since 10 a.m, yeah, and turn up. I mean, I was in the West End as well. You saw it wasn't. I've been at some. I've been at. I remember 2020. Euro 2000 out in England when there was a lot of trouble in Belgium. That's a very different type of trouble. This was about people who had nothing to do with football. I'm not condoning the other violence, by the way, in any way, but this was about just sheer recklessness and really creating panic amongst people who were scared. I saw kids crying, and it wasn't good it was terrible on a day that should be remembered for the good things.
Okay, back to boxing. Back to business, back to boxing. Right, I don't know where to start. Obviously, the last time we caught up via Zoom, we spoke about the new series of the World Boxing Super Series, which we'll ask you if you can give us an update about in a bit. But yes, your more recent news was something I was very interested in, is your link up with, internet extraordinaire Mr. KSI.
The one and only. The one and only.
Yeah. But more specifically, why I wanted to speak to you is because no. I think a lot of people would be asking the same question. That you've had your opinions, very strong opinions about YouTubers, YouTube boxing. More specifically, when we spoke about this last, a YouTuber obviously fighting Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. Okay, so but it seemed like you were kind of half or semi-branding that all at once to a certain degree, or not at the time?
Let me defend myself here. I'm in a court, I can tell. So first of all, let's go back in time. I was first questioned about Logan Paul fighting KSI back. I remember at the Groves Callum Smith press conference, which took place in London just before we went out to Saudi for the final. So this is a couple of years ago now, yeah. And I remember doing an interview with ESPN, look it up, yeah, where I said that if young men or women are prepared to go through the mill and fight each other as novices, I see no harm in it, especially when you're bringing in people who have more eyeballs than anyone in our sport. Anyone. Anyone. You can name any boxer. There's no one who's got more eyeballs than KSI. There's no professional boxer that does. Now that is something which has to be handled in a certain way, and that's a little bit about what this is about. Going back to my rant, which I think was one of your top rated 2020 clips from last year. I haven't forgotten that rant. I will do that rant for you again. If you want me to do that rant again. If that happens again, I will do that rant again. So this is not what that's about. This is not about me taking up a tennis bat. That would have been quite appropriate for what I'm about to say. Taking a tennis bat and trying to face Roger Federer shows how much I know about tennis. A tennis racket, of course. That has nothing to do with real sport. But you can't stop young men and women who want to go and become and train and become licensed and go the proper way and fighting each other as novices. That is something that is very, very different to me going out and saying I'm going to go pick up the bat in Regent's Park and play Roger Federer this afternoon. Very different. KSI, and this will come out in a lot more next month when we announce more stuff. But he trains every day. He's down the gym every day, proper boxing gym, training every day, sparring, living the life of an athlete. Now, I've seen boxers who haven't trained as much. Now, of course, he by his own admission, he's still a novice. I mean, he's had a couple of fights now, but he's the beginning. So he has to be matched in the same way as a novice would be matched. So there's plenty of fascinating fights out there. And I'm, by the way, learning by doing, because a lot of the names, I'm 44, I'm a bit out of the age group of some of the names mentioned, rappers, and we've got all sorts that we're looking at. But it's about underlining that with an element of real sport as well. And I think the sporting part is the part that's going to come out of this.
So has your association now, which again you just said we're going to learn more about in the coming weeks, has your association and link up with KSI changed your opinion about either Jake Paul or Logan Paul? Because it seemed that it was more, your kind of rants were more directed towards those Jake Paul
no, it was
and Logan Paul.
The way he was calling out professional fighters, which I think he's still doing, so my rants will continue. Yeah, until they, and Jake. By the way, Jake Paul looks like an athletic. I think he did wrestling at high school or something. I read. Fantastic, brilliant.
And he's active as well now.
He's active. Let's not get carried away. But at the same time, let's get real fights on. Fights that are good 4-rounders, maybe even up to 8-rounders. Good, but fights matched at a level, and that's a little bit what this is about, yeah. And bringing that extra attention to the sport, of course, and it's something you can't ignore, But once again, I'm not doing a U-turn. I'm not in any way doing a U-turn. So this is about not having those sort of WWE style fights where certain people are being held up when if they removed the hand, he would fall to the floor and it would have been over, And it's not about facing former boxers who haven't trained and just walked into the ring after coming straight out of McDonald's, That's what it's about.
Okay.
So those rants will continue.
Yeah, we want them rants to still continue. But obviously, yes, we will await kind of more news on your association with KSI in due course. But if you were to sum up what that association is to us, as simplistically as you can.
It's quite simple. it's a separate stable to the main stable we have. It's a stable where KSI actively wants to get involved in the sport and create shows. And let's face it, you know, if someone at the moment in the whole of, let's say, the media and entertainment industry as a one-man gang, I mean, what he's achieved is, you know, is phenomenal. You know, it's incredible, and working with him, I mean, he's got a fascinating take on things, and it really comes from him. He's very authentic, and I think that's what works. You know, I've always said about you, Kug, the way you do interviews is very authentic, and it's never changed from day one, has it? You know, you've never changed your style. You know, you now got, I don't know, 1 billion views or whatever it is. You know, I don't know.
Not yet.
We're getting there, but let's face it, you've never changed. Never changed. From our first interview, actually now you're sitting. We used to have to do it standing, but you know, that's
for the benefit of you.
You're a bit older, aren't you, as well? So, you know, we'll be doing these in 30, 40 years in our wheelchairs. But at the end of the day, you've never changed. And I think authenticity in whatever you do in life, I think that's key. And you see, KSI's his success isn't, you know, and that certainly hasn't come off him having a few boxing fights. That's come off him being a genius entrepreneur in 2021.
So these shows, just to kind of clarify this, are these shows going to be some kind of professional cards and some kind of...
They're not going to be mixed with professional boxing. These are specialised cards, that's what I will tell you now.
So similar to when KSI fought Logan Paul the first time, is it possibly things round...
Yeah, it will be all around that world.
Yes.
But... once again, we will be looking at certain things to implement that haven't been implemented in the past.
Okay. But yes, you've got some news coming at this in the next sort of few weeks, so we're going to learn more about that then.
Late summer.
Okay. Thanks for the branded water from Wasserman. Lovely.
Water bottles here. Eddie, eat your heart out.
Okay, so now a lot of signings happening at Wasserman Boxing. So we can talk about the ones that have been confirmed, but today's Tuesday. I understand that as literally each day rolls in this week, more signings will be confirmed, which...
You've just come through the office, you've already met, I think, 2 or 3 fighters. It's active. It's hunting season.
It is hunting season. Right, so if I reel off the names that I know are kind of your confirmed signings, and you can possibly talk to me a little bit about that. So, Brad Pauls.
Sensational talent. But not only sensational talent, also someone who's got that knockout sort of story. He's a fantastic guy. He's got a great following. And, you know, like the other ones, almost all, I don't want to repeat myself 4 or 5 times, it's all about a future where we see what we've always done as a company, as Team Sauerland, now Wasserman Boxing. We've always looked at it as minimum European level. It's never, you know, and that might come from that in Scandi, in Germany. So when we look at the UK, once again, we're not focused just on the UK. We're signing fighters all over the place in Europe. But when it comes to the UK, we're not going to look at it differently like we do in Europe, because in Europe, you know, the German Championship means absolutely jack shit. So when we look at it from, and that's not disrespecting the British title or some of the local titles here, which are fantastic, but it's from our point of view, we're not going to sign a huge stable. This stable is going to be based on quality names that we feel can become stars in the future.
So the other names that have been confirmed have been Linus Adolphia.
Fantastic. You know, we've got Hosea Stewart, who...
Small guy.
Yeah, he calls himself the Midlands Monster, which he's very keen on, and he is a monster of a talent. But I said to him, "You're tiny," because he walked in and I've seen videos of him. He was sparring with Anthony Joshua, and he's obviously a heavyweight, which you'll understand now. When he walked in, there was like these. He came into the office, and it was like, you know, what is it? It's like smoked glass where you can see a sort of shadow, and it was like the sun had suddenly been, you know, it was an eclipse, yeah. And in come Hosea, and what a fella! I mean, you know, and he's had rave reviews, pro debut, so I can't tell you that much about him. Just that we know he's had a good time in Joshua's camp, which is obviously a long way from where we want to get to. Where you know, we've got to take step for step, but a character as well, and I think someone who's going to bring a lot of fans, a lot of pleasure to the UK fans.
And someone you're very excited about is the Razor.
Yeah. I mean, all of them. Linus Adofia, Razor Ali. These are people who are going to have a big future. We've really done our due diligence on them, and we've had a lot of fighters who've nicely showed an interest, but these are ones so far. And like I said, there is more names coming. I mean, Razor Ali. I don't want to give away too much because around his fights, we're going to drop more of the storyline. But if I tell you, like, his story, his background, he was a refugee from Iran, came over here, was homeless, basically cleaned toilets in the gym to have a gym membership. Yeah, on one of his first amateur fights, he beat the best guy in the UK in his weight class. You know, the story is so unbelievable, and he's got some big backers. He's linked with some big people in the sports industry. I'm not going to say too much.
No, I saw the pictures.
Under his, let's say his social circle is Luis Figo, Davor Suker.
Shevchenko.
I saw him out with Shevchenko the other day. He can't make it up. So he's gone from this crazy story, and he's such a character. So, you know, he's fantastic. You know, and last also Linus Adofia. I mean, anyone who hasn't seen him will see him, and he's, you know, he was a very. We fought off a lot of competition to get that signature, and we're very proud because I think Linus is someone that is one that is going to be one for the future. I mean, he's fantastic talent.
And I believe massively underrated as well. Very good fighter.
Underrated because I think so far he hasn't, you know, been promoted properly. Well, don't say promoted properly is not the right word, but he hasn't. You know, he's getting to that stage now where you're going to hear a lot from him, and it's you know, it's going to be put in some. He'll be matched quick because I think he can go places quick. You know, so fantastic talent.
Welcome back.
It's part two.
It's part two, but we're rolling it together. Right. Okay. What's the situation regarding El Animal, Mr. Filip Hrgović?
El Animal, look, we had that very disappointing Hunter story, obviously winning the purse bid and the contracts, and then he pulled out. He pulled out for a show that was then cancelled. So, you know, there is some karma on this planet. But that's in the past. He's back in the States since the weekend, fighting August 28th in Los Angeles, and we are getting ready to announce the opponent, you know, next few days. So he's just, you know, the fact that we've been through those rankings, and it's not just us, you know. Eddie's putting, to be fair to Eddie, he's putting a lot of work on that as well. But we you know, we go through that ranking, and it's like, you know, 1 to 10 of the world ranking have turned down the fight for great money. But, you know, date's not an issue. We got people calling them out who then, you know, get an offer and then, you know, run 100 miles, come up with every story known to mankind. There's not one in the top 10 who've taken the opportunity. That's one fight away. Let's just make this very clear. One fight away from fighting Anthony Joshua for the heavyweight championship of the world. That's what it is. And anyone who knows boxing knows the IBF, they do not mess around with their mandatories. Ask Tyson
They're the
Fury.
strictest, we know that.
Ask Tyson Fury. He beat Klitschko. Well, Klitschko was undefeated for 10 years. On the Monday morning, when he was probably still celebrating, he got a letter that he was being stripped. Yeah. So we know that this is. It's not like, oh, well, you might get a mandatory down the road in 3,000 days, yeah? But, this is signed, sealed and delivered. And by the way, that mandatory is going to be due soon because the Pulev fight was the last mandatory. That was in December. So I think it's 10 months with the IBF. I'm not exactly sure, but it's within a year, let's put it that way. It will be called. You can get a special exception, but within 6 months, that fight happens, And with the IBF, by the way, there's no step-asides possible or something like that. It is what it is, it's there. So I don't get it, because on paper, El Animal has not fought anyone who I would say is fantastic yet. But everyone seems to know what he can do, from his huge time in the amateurs, the semi-pros with the WSB. And, it's almost like the reputation precedes him, and it's tough. It's been tough, but we're almost there now. So, but can't wait to get him out. Very exciting. Sign that contract.
The likelihood of Breedis and Akoli, what do we reckon?
I think we're there. Yeah, I think I met with Eddie and Frank and my brother 10 days ago, and we're both agreed. We have a mandatory with the Polish guy Cislak, which will be around September, but we've agreed that's the fight. That's the fight we want to put on, whether it's December, January, around there. So barring that either loses, and Maris won't be losing, so Lawrence, do your thing. And that's nailed on, unification. And it's a big, big fight. So it's something that Maris really wanted. He wanted to go to heavyweight. He was playing with the thoughts. He put something out there that he was going to go up to heavyweight. Then he looked at it, and I think that challenge with a Cody is one that he likes. And I think he was ready to go to heavyweight, but let's face it, the heavyweight scene has slowed dramatically this year because of the big two. So everyone was coming into heavyweight thinking, right, okay, well, they're gonna fight, they're gonna get to, it's gonna be unification, and probably all those belts are gonna become vacant afterwards, and there was all these, so everyone was making them, and everyone was thinking like that. And understandably, that's all changed. So right now, Breedis, World Boxing Super Series winner of the Muhammad Ali Trophy, unified champion, 3-time world champion, Ring Magazine champion, Lawrence Akoli, WBO world champion, and as we're constantly reminded, former employee of McDonald's. That's a fight that we want to get on, and I think Lawrence is a massively improved fighter, really, really improved, and I think it's a testament to his work with his team, and that he's got to where he is, and I think it's a great fight. It's certainly the deep end for Cody. It's a place that he hasn't been anywhere near yet, but there's only one way to find out.
I mean, you mentioned there about the heavyweight scene really slowing down, and I suppose we're still obviously waiting confirmation of Anthony Joshua's fight with Alexander Usyk, but one fight we're not going to see in the immediate future, hopefully for October now, but is the Fury Wilder trilogy fight.
No, it's one, and it's one that, we're not involved in any way, shape or form, but it's one, of course, that affects the whole sport. Yeah? And it's a big disappointment. For me as a fan, forget the industry, I was supercharged for that fight. That was the fight we all wanted to see. Everyone had their opinion. We all have our opinions. Opinions alike, but didn't happen, did it? I mean, you didn't see that left hook coming with the, what was it called again? The arbitration, you know? I love these words in boxing that we just pull out of the bag sometimes, you know.
But people claim to know, but never heard it before it was mentioned.
And then now, obviously, they've got the COVID stuff going on, and then, you know, there's one camp saying this and one camp saying that. I mean, the build-up's great, but the build-up would be even better if we knew there was a fight at the end of the rainbow, you know? It's like, you know, at the moment, you'd say it looks very bleak that will ever get on, you know? And so that, like, just going back to the Okoli fight, that's a reason why that decision from Myra's Breedis to stay at cruiser for the moment. You'll see that the division is going to slow down a bit, you know, which was going at 100 miles an hour, which is not great for our sport. So it has a knock-on effect.
I know we spoke about this in the Zoom interview, which was actually our last interview, probably maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago now. But any more update on the WBSS involving the females?
Just that we've already spoken to a lot of different names, a lot of different promoters. The timeline is Q4 this year. That's the idea to begin the first events. Obviously, we have our system of announcing beforehand. So I'd say look for something later in the summer with with how exactly that's going to be put out there. Don't forget, once again, the WBSS is not an event for everyone. It's a season. It's a tournament. So the whole situation, and we are getting to this extra time of the pandemic. I do feel that. But for us, it's a key. We've got key decisions to make based on not like the quarterfinals, not even for the semi-finals, but for the finals next summer. What's going to be possible? Where's going to be what's the best play? What's the best way to do it? Right now, if you're looking at this from the UK, you think, oh, everything's open. Well, unfortunately, it's not. You're looking at some other countries and nothing's open. So it's a global tournament, and we have different challenges in putting that on, and we're just delighted to go with the females. We do think that weight class is going to bring some great fights together.
Well, I'm sure you'll keep us updated on that. Kalle, before we finish, just a tragic occurrence has happened recently, obviously involving a fine young man in Sebastian Eubank, brother to obviously Chris Eubank. I mean, yeah, what can be really said? It's just horrendous.
When I heard the news, I didn't take it. It was like it was announced. I got a message on the phone, and it was Friday night, and I'd spoken to Senior in the afternoon, and I had a really, really nice conversation with Senior. It was a really, really good conversation, not just about boxing, about everything. And I'm a big fan of Senior's. I know he has his mixed appeal, but everyone at the end of the day needs to remember what a legend he is, and he's held this massive family together. So you see, the closeness of the family at this time. All I can say is about Sebastian is we worked with him as promoters, both in Denmark and in the United Kingdom. And my brother was closer with him. My brother was very close with him, actually. So they kept in regular contact. And I'd met him at the shows. And it's funny because I can really remember meeting him. And that's not just saying it, as a part of the condolence. He was a guy that really, he was super sincere. Very, very different in a way to, let's say, I think all the Eubanks have got their own sort of character traits, but he lit up a room when he walked in. I remember him walking into a room. It was pre-weigh-in. I think it was medical checks, and I just remember him walking in, and he was so. He was just very, the way he went around with other people, very sincere person, very humble person. And my brother told me he was a very deep thinker, and he was super into, you know, his lifestyle was A1, you know, absolutely, you know, into his health, life, spirituality, and you know, as a dad, you know, the story that he just became father, you know, as a brother, just to know that feeling. I mean, you can't empathise because it's a situation, unless you've had it. It's just, it's something that is, it's just horrendous. I mean, I've seen the outpour from that. You know, we talked about the negatives of social media before, but let's say the positives, the outpour for the Eubank family on Friday night, you know, from all over, even from, let's say, nemesis in the sport, was fantastic. You know, it was such a great reaction, and it was something which I'm sure that they'll look on fondly. And I mean, it's just, you know, it's such a tragic moment and time, you know, for them. So it's that's all we can really say right now.
Well, our thoughts and prayers obviously go out to the Eubank family and also friends of Sebastian Eubank. So may he rest in peace. Yeah. Kalle, thank you very much for giving us quite a lot of your time today. Appreciate it as always. And I'm assuming I'll be seeing a lot more of you in the coming weeks, as there's a lot of stuff happening regarding Wasserman.
It's going to be a busy time, and holidays are all cancelled. That was anyways cancelled after we lost to Italy on Sunday. So, you know, it's now time to get to the grind, and I'll see you very, very soon.
Kalle, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. We'll definitely catch up with you again soon.